Hey, good morning, guys. My name is Jacob with Best Air Plumbing Repair. I'm the plumbing manager here. Today on the podcast, we have Zach Reese. He's one of our senior plumbing techs here. Tell us a little bit about yourself, buddy.
What's up, everybody? I'm Zach Reese. I've been plumbing for about 8 years. I'm a licensed journeyman plumber. Love the trade. Love being here. Love working with you guys. I love Best.
Right, cool beans. So you've been with us for quite a while now. We have been doing a lot of water heater flushes. Obviously, that's one of those things that's recommended by the manufacturer to do every year. Tell us a little bit about that, bud.
Well, yeah, I mean, we want to try and get out and meet some people out here in the city, and a lot of people don't know they want to maintain their water heater. So I see a lot of people losing their water heater really fast, 6, 7 years. So a lot of people doing warranty work with their water heaters. That's a bad day. Have to go out and replace your water heater. You just show up in the morning, you're just water all over your garage. Don't want to do that. So we've been trying to get out and meet some people, trying to let people know that, hey, we can be out here and maintenance your water heater for you. Just $20 right now. It's a killer deal. Come out and check on it, flush it, check your anode rod, make sure all the maintenance is done proper on it, service it for you. It's a good thing. Should be done all annually.
What's the average lifespan typically of a water heater? With and without flushing?
So annual or the average for the nation is about 10 years.
Okay.
You only get a 6-year warranty on a water heater. They
Right.
only expect them to last 6 years. I think that's because they may also expect that most homeowners won't maintenance them. So with maintenance, I mean, there's a lot of positives that will happen to it. I think we can definitely get closer to that 10-year mark if we're flushing them.
Right. And if not, you're usually getting right at that warranty mark, 6 years.
Right.
Or gotcha. Okay.
If you can squeeze out 12 years, but if you lost 2 and 6, I mean, that's you bought another water heater when you didn't have to.
For sure. Yeah. And I mean, $20 a year, you can't beat that.
No.
What about the anode rod? Tell us a little bit about that.
So there's 2 things really I'm looking for. I'm trying to get all the sediment out of the bottom of your tank. I don't want that to settle near the bottom because it's a storage tank. I don't want that to settle at the bottom, and I want to get all that stuff out of there before it goes into your home.
Right.
The anode rod also too, because again, it's a heated up storage tank. That anode rod, the water out here is just really caustic. Everybody knows we have super hard, really bad water out here. That anode rod will help protect the tank from that. It's a sacrificial rod, so when I pull it out, it might look kind of nasty. So we're expecting it to. We want that water to attack that rod versus attacking your tank.
Right.
So if we can get that to attack the rod and maintain that rod, then the tank is definitely taken care of.
What's the recommended time frame for replacing those?
Depends on your water filtration. If you guys are using good water filtration here in the valley, then we don't have to replace them as often. Without it, I mean, it could be every year, frankly.
Right. Okay. Cool beans. So you talked a little bit about buildup at the bottom of the tank. What effect does that have on efficiency? Obviously, we want to do these flushes to get that buildup out, but
Sure.
I imagine if there's buildup, it probably has a pretty big cost to efficiency.
Absolutely. So you have your storage tank, and at the bottom of it, you have your burner, right? That burner is not very powerful. That water heater is heavily insulated. That's how that thing works pretty good. If you have essentially a brick forming at the bottom of that water heater, you can get a 1/2 inch to 3 inches of sediment at the bottom of that tank. If my burner's got to bust through all of that sediment and stuff like that before you even start hitting hot water, your efficiency is going to go way down.
Right.
So
I imagine it's probably like 30-40% efficiency loss, which obviously is going to cost you on your gas bill every day. And if you have electric,
make your heater go out quicker.
Right. Okay. Right. Makes sense. Sometimes we have customers call in with a water heater that makes a knocking noise. Can you explain that a little bit?
So again, I'm trying to get that sediment out of your tank. So it settles at the bottom, but it also swirls and can settle on the sides of the tank. So when you click it on, you introduce cold water into the tank. Obviously, cold water will make the water heater contract. You start hearing chipping, cracking. It's not good for that metal. It's not good for the inside of the tank. And yeah, you're probably hearing quite a bit of sediment chip off inside the tank.
So we're doing a $20 water heater flush. What all is included in that?
So that's a full maintenance of that heater. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to make sure that it's up to code. I'm going to go through and flush it, obviously. I'm going to exercise the valves, make sure that the valves were shut off. Another big thing that we run into with people who lose their water heaters, too, is they don't exercise the supply valve that's on top of it. So sometimes I show up to people's homes It's been a second since I can get out there. It happened the night before. They've had to shut off the entire house.
Right.
So they've just been without water for 12, 16 hours, whatever. If there's ever an emergency, you need to be able to shut off that valve. So that's a big thing I'll check for you. I will check the venting too, make sure all the venting's all connected up all the way through for the penetration through the attic. Make sure that you're not getting carbon monoxide in the house, in the
Right.
attic. We'll check the straps. I'll check your expansion tank. There's certain code things that we'll go through and double check for you.
Right.
I just make sure that you're safe.
Carbon monoxide, obviously is a pretty deadly gas. What are you looking for when you're inspecting a flue pipe, and how do you know if it's bad?
So water heaters, just regular tank water heaters are natural venting.
Mm-hmm.
So they have the burner at the bottom, and then the exhaust naturally rises. So you'll see there's a little gap between the vent hood, looks like a little china cap, between the heater and that vent, and then that vent goes up through the ceiling or a penetration somewhere. There's a lot of different codes and a lot of different things that dictate how that needs to be done. The metal needs to be a certain type of way. It needs to be a certain type of metal. It needs to have a clearance away from combustibles. So it should have those things visible, apparent from standing at the water heater too. But another thing is, if you've ever touched that pipe, I mean, I don't touch the pipe because it's going to be very hot.
Right.
So when metal expands, it gets hot, it expands. When metal gets cold again, it contracts. So those connections sometimes will have issues. So I want to double check that, especially if there's an attic penetration between the ceiling and the roof. I want to make sure if I can get visuals on that in the attic, because if it's going throughout in the attic and your duct system, all that stuff up there, there's a lot of air movement in the attic.
Mm-hmm.
If it starts sucking up that gas, then yeah. Carbon monoxide, you don't smell it, unless you guys have sensors inside the house, you're not going to know what's happening to you. I have had customers in the past tell me they've just been feeling kind of sick. They've been kind of sleepy, and they don't really know what's going on. And I just happened to catch the, hey, look, this thing is venting in your attic. It's a big problem.
Right. Yeah, I actually had that scare myself. I used to live in Orlando, and I had a house that did have carbon monoxide alarms. And about 3:00 in the morning, my alarms went off, and obviously I was freaking out because I'm like, there's no fire. So I looked at it and it said carbon monoxide, alarm. I'm like, oh, great, and I got my wife up, got my kids out. We went outside, and of course my wife's like, oh, it's probably nothing. Just go back to sleep. I'm like, yeah, that's what carbon monoxide tells you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And so I ended up calling the fire department out, which was a funny conversation because I actually called them directly instead of calling 911. And I was like, hey, can you guys just come check this out for me? And I could tell I actually just woke the fire captain up, because it was in the middle of the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, hey man, look, I ain't trying to, have a big ruckus and, wake up all the neighbors. If you guys could just come check this out. And, here they were, 5 minutes later, rolling down the street, no lights on or anything, trying to be quiet and
rubbing their eyes like, all right,
yeah.
here we are.
But sure enough, it was a good call. They went inside, they did detect carbon monoxide, and they were able to blow out the house and got to safe levels, and no one got hurt, but it was a close call. So that's something I would really recommend doing is getting those inspections done, because I know we have flue pipes on water heaters, but they're also on furnaces. So
Yeah.
that's kind of one of the benefits of having these maintenances on all portions of your house, is to get these inspected so you don't end up in a bad situation. So
Right. Definitely
whether it's
good
carbon
to inspect your
monoxide,
stuff.
yeah,
Especially with furnaces and things too, because if they're improperly burning, it happens slowly over time. It's something that just happens slowly to you, and you might just not even know what's going on for you.
right. Obviously, we're mainly talking about water heater flushes. Tell me a little bit about a tankless flush, and well, I guess let's start off about what a tankless is,
Mhm.
how it works, and why it needs to be flushed.
Right. So tankless water heater, it heats water the same. Right, provides hot water in the house, but it actually is pretty different from a tank water heater. So a tank water heater is a storage unit, just uses a little burner at the bottom of it. Tankless, it's got a lot more gas. It's got a lot more juice. It has a really small series of tubes inside of it, kind of like the radiator for a car. It just the gas comes in and blasts that real quick, and then just provides hot water right as soon as it comes out of the heater. doesn't store any water. To do that, though, like I said, it's got a real small series of tubes on the inside of it. Again, with the water that we have here in Las Vegas, it's can definitely clog up and decrease the efficiency in there. So if you're noticing that you're getting less pressure out of the hot side on your house, it could be that your water heater is getting clogged up and needs to be cleaned out. So again, I would highly suggest water filtration in the house so that you don't damage the heater. But if you don't have water filtration in the house, it is something we can help you with. There should be service valves on the inside and the outside, or the inlet and the outlet of that tank. We can hook up pumps to it and run cleaner through it, solvents, and clean that up for you.
Right. So, kind of on the same premise of buildup, I know that from my experience, heat has a tendency to bring out these minerals. Vegas has really hard water, so on both the tank and the tankless, at that spot where that burner is touching those pipes, it's going to pull that calcium and magnesium
Right out of it,
out of the water and call those pipes. What do the manufacturers recommend on a tankless flush?
At least doing it once a year.
Once a year?
Yeah.
Is that something a homeowner could do? I mean, obviously, flushing a water heater is pretty straightforward. A tank water heater. Would you recommend a customer try to flush their own tankless?
Well, I mean, at one point I had the same amount of knowledge as a customer also. To me, a lot of this stuff is like, yeah, everybody could do it. But in reality, I do what I do for a reason. I'm just good at it. So can a customer do it? Absolutely. Would I still recommend a licensed plumber to come do it for you? Yeah.
And just kind of a clarification thing, we're offering a $20 water heater flush. That doesn't typically include a tankless flush because a tankless does require materials, actually more money in materials than $20. So there is an additional charge for that.
Flushing a tank is rather simple, but yeah, flushing a tankless is a little bit more involved.
Right. Is there any other kind of diagnostics you would do on a tankless flush, or any kind of inspection that's included with that?
Yeah, I'm going to test your water pressure too. That's something that goes to the wayside sometimes. Water pressure really fluctuates here in the valley. They do a lot of construction. There's a lot of home building around here. They're adjusting those pumps constantly. I get customers that don't catch that, and high water pressure is really damaging to the system. So that's something I'll check. It's especially damaging to water heaters too because they heat up. But yeah, I'll check that for you also. We'll check water quality.
So I know most manufacturer regulations say they don't want water pressure over 80 psi. And in fact, that water over 80 psi will actually void any kind of warranties, including a water heater. So most your water heaters do have a 6-year warranty. Some of them have 10, and then a tankless has usually a 15-year warranty on the heat exchanger. So that's definitely something that you want to keep an eye on. So that way you're not voiding that warranty, because you don't want to get 2 years in your tankless that you just dropped all this money on and have it blow apart and they say, oh, well, yeah, you're having 200 psi coming into your house in the middle of the night because the water fluctuates so much here, and
it's not the tankless's fault.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What would a customer want to be looking for to identify that they should have a licensed plumber come out to their home?
Well, I mean, so if we're seeing signs, if we're looking for signs, some of the things we might see, if you're getting brown water out of faucets, definitely time to call a plumber.
For sure. Yeah, that's no good.
Yeah, so plumbing is kind of sight unseen sometimes. A lot of people don't even look at their water heater until it goes bad. So one thing that you would probably see immediately if you saw brown water coming out of your heater or coming out of your faucets and things like that, it's time to get a hold of a plumber. If you see anything, I mean, if you're getting home and you're going through your garage, I would just, casually glance at that thing. If you see anything that's leaking, that's kind of falling apart, straps undone, then I would definitely call a plumber and have that rectified. With tanklesses, if you start to see pressure loss inside the home, give me a shout. Need to take off the panel, make sure that the heat exchangers, some of them are copper, some of them are stainless steel, some of them are more susceptible. If you're seeing pressure loss in the house, call a plumber.
Right. So thanks for educating us about water heaters and our, water heater flush and all that good stuff. I feel like there was a lot of good information that a lot of people, really needed to hear. Again, if you guys have any questions about your water heater or any kind of maintenance, give us a call. Thanks for watching.